Hi, Ann Cornick from Paint and Porcelain. I'm here to get beginners started in China painting and hopefully to recruit experienced painters to paint along with us. And today we're going to be working on a hydrangea. This is what we're going for in the long run. This is what the final product will look like. This is a much larger plate, so it has a little more down here at the bottom than the study that we're working with, just to give you an idea of where we're going with this. Okay, a couple of things. You will need a sponge of some sort. I have the one this one works really well. And if you don't have a sponge, you can use a silk with a little bit of cotton in it, or lamb's wool is what you're supposed to use. Wrap it up and tie it off, and then you can use it to pat. It's called a stump, and this is the stump that I bought. I bought actually a packet. I got it at Amazon because they had them online, and I didn't want to run around to all the stores and try to find someone who had it. They had packets with all different sizes. I'm going to be using the largest of them, which is the number 9. So if you have a stump and you aren't using it, I guess they're for pastels, but I think they work well for this. And then use this. You can use this. Probably this end is better, but there's also the wedge end to this. And if you use the wedge end, then you have a little more color in the middle. And if you want the color on the petal, that might be the way to do it. Alrighty, we're also going to be using brushes. 3/4 inch is what I'll be using. Now these are also really large brushes. They're a little thicker, but you can use these for the background if you have them. These are 18s and 20s. But as a beginning painter, and that's kind of the audience that I try to appeal to, it's important that you get some big brushes. And the reason you need to get some big brushes is because you should always paint with the largest brush you can manage. When I learned how to paint wild roses, I did it with a 10. My very first piece that I ever did. This is a 10. Can you see that? And I used a 10 almost exclusively for everything I painted after that, including things like violets and pansies that were fairly small. So it's important that if you want things to be nice and smooth, you use the largest brush you can. Colors for today, just so you know what we're going for. I'm going to use blue-black. Now, if you don't have blue-black, a navy, a dark blue, if you have it. If you don't have anything close, you could probably take like a Copenhagen, mix a little black in it and get something similar. This one is going to be a little harder. So this is what I use for most of the plate, and it's an imperial green. So see, this is the color that the imperial green will come out. So if you don't want to do pale green, the imperial green like this, and you have like a blue, a baby blue, or any color blue, if you want to use it, you could use it. But as you can see, the imperial jade is more green than blue. Now there is a Russian green, and I think it's a little more blue than green, but you could probably use that. This is old gold green. If you have antique green, it would work. If you have a warm brown green, you could use that too. This is my cool shadow, which I prefer to baby blue, but it's a personal preference. So if you have baby blue, use it. This is an old ivory. Now the difference between old ivory and regular ivory is it has a little more of an undertone, warm undertones, you know, and it's really pretty when you put it on. It doesn't give you an overly yellowy look to the ivory. And then the final is black green. And if you have brown green and you mix a little black in it, you can get black green. The first thing we're going to do is put on the background. The background on this is predominantly that imperial green. So I'll put that up there. So make sure your brush is clean. Get some of that imperial green. I use mineral spirits for my cleaning my brush. They're odorless. And I use medium plus for the medium that I paint with. We're going to start with the background. Now this is something I haven't done with beginners before. We're going to actually do the wipeout on the hydrangea. So you need to have background color there. And we're going to start with the imperial green, and we're just going to, if you have it traced on, we're just going to go around the leaves. So you can see here, I'm just going around the leaves. Now, if you get it on the edge of the plate, it's no big deal, because what you're basically going to do with it is you're going to put, at the very end, you'll just wipe it off. So I do kind of a C-stroke when I put on the background. It just works a little better for me. It may not be something that you're used to, but I use a C-stroke, kind of like this, on a smaller scale, just to get around the background when I'm doing it around something. I think it helps. It just makes it a little easier. You hold back on your brush though. You don't hold way up on your brush. And you want to get that color on there, and then you want to feather it to the end. Feathering is when you hold it way back and just pull it out. Okay, like this. If you get it on the leaves, if you get it on any of the things you're working on, that's perfectly fine, all right? I'm even going to put some down here on the leaves, because this is shadow. This is my main hydrangea. These are going to be secondary, so I'm going to start putting some of the shadow around, and the shadow on this can be the same color as the background. There we go. And I'm just going to put it a little bit all the way around here. I'm also going to put shadow over on this leaf because I have to do this hydrangea. This should be pretty easy to understand. I'm going to put shadow on this leaf because I have that hydrangea. You're sort of surrounding the hydrangea. Now, as I get over here, I think I want to do a little more blue. And so I'm going to take my cool shadow and I'm going to put my cool shadow over on this side. And that's the reason I like the cool shadow. Can you see how pretty that is? It blends very well with this color that I'm using, the Imperial Jade. And you can just pull it out as well. And in fact, I'm going to put a little on the edge because I don't have the jade going all the way to the edge. And I'm just going to make it the blue. Now, when I'm pulling out like this, I'm cross-hatching. This way, this way. This way, there we go. And anywhere that you get streaks, I don't see any right now, but anywhere that you get really streaky, if it's streaky this way, then pull this way. Pull the opposite direction. Do a 90-degree opposite direction in order to get it. Okay, and I want a little more dark here. Okay. I'm going to clean my brush because now I'm going to go into the black blue. I'm going to put a little of that, here. The black blue, I want it darker than that, so I'm going to put a little more down in here, a little up in here. I'm going to put a little down in here, because don't forget, this is the hydrangea, so I'm going around it completely. And then down in here, I'm going to put a little black blue around this hydrangea. So you have 1, 2, 3 hydrangeas, but these two are secondary. Now there are some streaks. Can you see the streaks I did there? Okay, in order to get rid of them, you're going to go this way. See how they just disappear when you go the opposite direction? That's the reason you cross-hatch, is it takes care of a lot of that. Let me get that. I'm going to mix my black blue with a little cool shadow down here just to get some color in. Okay. And like I said, see, I'm using a circular or a C-stroke in order to get this color out here. I'm going to want it a little darker up in here. Oop, too dark. Pat it off on your towel. I use Viva towels. There's one side that's smoother on those, and there's another side that's a little thicker. Now I have Old Gold Green. I don't know if you have Old Gold Green, but I'm going to put Old Gold Green up here right now. And you see I've got it mixed with a little bit of the blue. Can you see that on there? I didn't clean my brush. I just started adding it because we're going to wipe out. You have to have something to wipe out, right? I'm taking, this is my Old Gold Green, and I'm coming around and just putting it as kind of a secondary color. Now you notice I don't have the turquoise or the blue on this one because it's going to be my primary. Now here I'm going to put a little of the green here. I'm cleaning my brush now. I'm still using the monster brush, the big brush. And then the last color, my lightest color, is the baby blue, or the cool shadow, and I'm just going to put that here. And I'm going all over it, but I'm keeping it, you don't have to be real exacting. You don't have to cover it completely. You're kind of just doing almost like background strokes over the whole thing. See? And you're blending some of these colors, because what you want to end up with is basically background all over this, so that then you can start. And I tried to pick colors that blend well together. Then you can start wiping them out. Now, before I wipe them out, I do want to get my leaves in, because if I don't get my leaves in, I will be wiping out into that area, and then I'll mess it up when I put my leaves in. So the next thing I do is put my leaves in. I'm going to use a full load of Old Gold Green, like this. This is a full load. You just put it on, and a side load of black green. And let me show you how that comes out. I've got a tile right here I can show you on. This is what it's going to look like. It's going to be gradated from a lighter color to a darker color. That's what you want. That's what happens when you full load. Full load with Old Gold Green and side, or brown green if you have it, side load with black green. And I'm going to start up at the top and work my way around. So I'm going to start with this guy. Now he already has this turquoise on there. So I'm kind of hoping that that's going to lend to the color I get. I'm just going to pull very gently over that, because I don't want to mess it up too much. And I'm going to come down and create my leaves. So I did the area close up. I'm going to do the area here. This will be in shadow. This leaf is on top. This leaf will be in shadow. And so let me get a little more dark green. If it's really in shadow, you want to add a little, the black green is fighting me. There we go. A little bit of black green, and I'm just going to come across the edge there. Okay. Then down here, I'm going to do the same thing, because this flower is shading this leaf. This flower is shading that leaf, and this leaf will also shade it. So down here, it's kind of like this is the shading, and there's the shading. And then over here, we have this is the shading, and this is the shading. Okay, now I'm going to turn my plate. I'm just going to come down. Now these are jagged edges. So you're going to try, even though my study doesn't really show them as jagged edges, they are. They're very jagged. Oops, wrong side. So you're going to come down, 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 down. You see how I did that? It's kind of outside of the pen. Don't worry if you go outside the pen. I'm not going to do that side. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go down, oops, down, down. You're kind of doing a backwards C stroke or a comma stroke. Down, 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 down. And that will give you the ragged edge on your leaf. Let's see, I've got that one done there. Okay, now I'm coming over here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a ragged edge on my leaf. Comma, comma, comma. Maybe another comma in between if you want a little more raggy-baggy. You can always connect them a little more if you need to. Don't play too much with them. Just leave them now. You can fix them later. And here it would be, they'd come out a little too. And then I'm coming around this side, and I'm just making it a little lumpy. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. The thing is, take the brush at the end and pull it, pull it. You want to just lightly pull it, pull it. Give you, oh, here I went out of the lines a little, so I'm going to go back with the green. There we go. Just touch up that area. Okay. Now, one of the reasons we have one more over here. I missed it. Here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start and put the dark down here. The big brush, you can keep lifting it like I do, and you get some beautiful brush strokes, and they're the kind you want. Sometimes you don't want brush strokes, but in this case, if you get some really beautiful brush strokes, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, take them. I always do the top of the leaf, the bottom of the leaf, and then I come back and do if I need to put anything down the middle. These guys over here really don't have any highlights on them. I'm a little disappointed in them. So I'm going to clean off my brush really well and go back and give them a couple little highlights. Here I'm going to do it this way. And maybe this one I'm going to do that way. Here I'm going to do it this way. Oops. This way, this way. Just trying to give them a little bit of highlight. Now let's take our stump. This is a stump. And I've already tested it. You can see how far down on the stump I went. I kind of don't take the point of it. I take the point and a little bit of the side of it. And I go in and I start wiping out my hydrangeas. And I'm going to start with my main hydrangea first, which is this one. And then I'm going to work my way around. Now, I would suggest that you bring the plate as close as you can to you so that when you're working on it, it makes it a little easier to reach it without messing up what you've already painted. Don't try to do it from down here. You're going to get your hand in the leaves. Let me show you. Okay. Here's a big blue. I'm going to paint blue on here for you so you can see it, because the dark blue is a really good color, maybe even with the baby blue in it. Okay. So this is what you're doing. Even with your eraser, you can do this. You're going to do like a forget-me-not. You're doing one side and then the other. One side and then the other. One side and then the other. I'm using the tip and the side of my wipeout tool. One side, not quite this big obviously on that. Now, if you leave the centers, eventually what you'll do is if there's any paint in the center, you can just gently, let me show you, just gently pull that paint towards the center and it'll give you a little bit of color in the center of that flower. Just like that, okay? Oops, this one's kind of messed up there, okay? There. And it gives you just a little color in the center of the flower. That's what we're doing. Next petal will just be maybe one like that. And then over here you might do one like that. But you might also do the other part of it. So you have to think, okay, what part of it am I going to see there? Well, you'd see at least two. And that's how you keep going around. It's very simple. It's tedious. So if you're watching this and you're going, oh my gosh, she's going to take forever, I'm going to speed it up and try to get through it now that I've shown you how I did that. When you get out into this area, you want to start making it a little irregular. That's okay. Over here, I'm going to make it irregular too. See, I'm going way out into that area. And I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to figure out, okay, what's the other part of that? And then I'm going to come over in this area. It's fun to skip around. I think if you skip around, you'll get a more random kind of flower, which is really what you want. You don't want it all uniform and beautiful. You want it out here, maybe here. Then over on this one, you'd have a third one that maybe stuck out that way. And then over here, you might have one down here, and it might be one of a bigger one. You could do it here, and here, and here. And then here you just have a little one showing. Here you just have a little one showing. And then over here, you're going to have a little one showing, a little one showing. And then maybe this one, you decide you're going to make it into 4 or 3. And you can just put just a dab like this. See here, I don't have room for a full one, so I just put a little dash. And see, there's very little buildup on those hydrangea petals. Then you take, I'm using a number 10 brush. This is an 8.5 inch plate. And I'm just pulling those centers in, the color that I left in the middle. I'll bring it up so you can see it. This color here, I'm just softening it and pulling it towards the middle a little, just so I don't have that obvious line there. Okay. Now this is going to take a long time to do the whole plate, but you get the idea with this. And then over here I do have a little bit of what we call that buildup. So I'm just going to soften it by going like this, just feathering over it, and that'll get rid of it for me. Then here I need to go in and soften the color in the center. And when I get it all softened, I'm going to take a liner like this, and I'm going to put those little centers back in the way I want them to be. I'm going to use my blue black, and I'm just going to take and put a center there, maybe one here, just so that I know where the centers are. On the second fire, because the second fire will make it a lot harder to see all this, obviously. Okay. Now remember, this is only the first fire. You're not going to get this exactly the way a hydrangea looks in every respect. It's going to take a while. Then you're going to start over here now, because this is in a shadow over here, and I kind of messed up the shadow a little, so let me get that back here. Okay. I'm not going to go all the way up to the top flower. I'm going to start back here, and I'm going to do it there, there. Pick a couple of big ones that you want to do. The top of them is usually, the top of the petal is usually larger than the bottom of the petal. And you can go back and fuss with these all you want. This part is usually, it's almost like the top. This part here is usually a little wider than the bottom. Okay? That's the other thing you have to keep in mind. So I've got 4 there. I don't want to make them too big though, because then they're going to look ridiculous. So I've got 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. See, I'm not doing the whole thing up in there, just a little bit. And then I'm coming down here at the bottom, and I'm going to finish it out. Let me do it this way. Always wiping your tool off, whatever you're using to wipe out with. And then I'm going to do it here, and here, here, and here. Okay. Then you can take a little bit of your jade, which is the color that I used up here, and just brush over it just a tad, just so you fade those guys into the background. You're doing it very lightly. You're going to give a couple of these a little bit of attention inside, and you're just going to pull these in a little bit like that, the color, just so it, because these are white. I want them to be white. Step back from it, take a picture of it, play with it, leave it for a while, come back to it, because now look, I see down here, I have to put some color in there. Okay. But you're going to have another fire on this. I'm mixing, this is baby blue, cool shadow, and I'm going to go around the edge because I want to show you how I finish this off, and then you can go back and play with the leaves. You've got 2 leaves here that you'd have to do, and you'd have to do a little bit of the vein, you know, what is that? The stem that goes up. But I'm just, you know how I put my colors on. I take my color and I put it around like this. This is the blue, cool shadow. And then I sort of just clean my brush a little bit because it's a little heavy with the blue. And I just start cross hatching. So I'm painting as quickly as I normally do because I don't want this to, you know, take forever. Up here I had the imperial green, so I'm going to put a little more imperial green back up there. And then here I'm going to start mixing it. If you don't get those with the cool shadows, this is way too dark. When it's dark, I wipe it off on my towel, my brush off on my towel, and I come back and I press, wipe, press, wipe, and then I start going back, and it usually lightens it up like that. Okay, go right over the stems because you're going to put the stems in last because otherwise you'll mess them up. Think about the order that you do things in because it makes a big difference as to what you mess up and what you don't mess up. And then decide where you're going to leave your, I'm going to put my ivory in this area because the sun's sort of coming this way. So I've got that much in. Clean my brush. I'm using the big brush again now, the monster brush. And I'm going to go into my old ivory and just plop it on. I'm going to even put a little up in there. I want a little sun coming through. Might even put a little back in here. Okay. And then I'm just going to mix it. Blend it. Cross hatch it. Now, with the ivory, you don't want to lose it. So you're going to go from the ivory into the blue so you don't lose it. If you go from the blue into the ivory, you're going to lose the ivory. Or you could do the ivory first, whichever you want to do. And then I kind of C-stroke around the edge just to blend that blue around. But I try not to get the ivory in the blue if I can help it. Okay, now the final thing that you're going to do on this, when you're all finished and done, and you've got it exactly the way you want it, is you're going to take, this is the eraser that I'm using. I'm going to use this portion, the rounder portion at the top of the eraser. I'm not going to use it heavy, but I'm going to pounce, and I'll show you what it's going to do. This is the one I did previously. I pounced there, there, and there. It gave me the light that I want on this, where the light hits these. So I'm going to take it, and I think you'll see the biggest up here, where you just do it lightly. Can you see the difference in here? And then you will have to go back in and kind of correct some of that, just a little bit, just so that you still have a little bit of it. I take my stump again and just go back in and just correct a little of it so that it's still there, but it's pounced out. And it gives you that lighter. You don't have to do both sides of your petals when you do this. You can just go back in and hit one side if you want. Sometimes that gives you enough highlight on that side that you remember it's there. But pouncing will give you a little bit of light. Just a little bit of light. It'll be more noticeable on the bottom one. On this first fire, and we'll do it every fire just to give it a little bit of a nice edge to it. Then at the very end, before you put it in the kiln, hi Edith, take your eraser, take your finger, whatever works, run it around. You see I'm running it around my plate to get all the excess stuff off the edge. Now down here, let me just give you an idea. Here we have I think I'm going to have to start with the new side. There are only 4 petals on each of the flowers. I don't know if you've paid attention to that, but for those of you that are trying to make things accurate, now up in here, I'm just gonna, well here I need to do a full one, hang on. But then up in here, I'm just gonna do, in fact, I might just take my brush and wipe it back. There you go. Just a couple back up in there so that you can see them, but they don't look like they're completely done. And then you put your centers in. And you clean this out, clean these little guys out. Or take a picture before you fire it, because it's not going to look like this. This is what my other one looked like when I started. Put it in the kiln. It's going to come out more like this. And if you have that picture, it's going to help you remember where everything is so that you don't have to worry about it. And then take a picture when it comes out. A lot of you say, oh, mine fires out so much. Well, depend on the color you're using. And that's part of it. If you're using a color that fires out, it will fire out. But the blues and the greens don't so much. And these are going to be white hydrangeas. Thank you for watching. Pick up your brushes. Keep painting. See you next time. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed the program. And I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe so that other people can learn more about China painting and we can get the word out to more people. You also can look at the links below. My Paintnporcelain.com website has a lot of freebies and printables for new and experienced painters, as well as studies, supplies, and even some of my hand-painted china. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.